Hi everyone. This is Sai from LetsUpgrade. So let's talk about how to get your certificate. It's very simple. You will see two links in the description. Number one is the place where you have to go and mark your attendance. Marking your attendance tells us like, okay, you are a legit student who have attended this particular session. Link number two is your assignment. This is where your 90% of the priority is. You have to go and submit the assignment that is given to you in this particular session. Once you're done submitting that assignment, we will be evaluating that. We will send you an email. If you get the passing criteria, then only we will give you the certificate on a particular date that is mentioned again in the description. Please check these three things, and this is the way how you will get a certificate from Let's Upgrade. Number one, mark your attendance. Number two, just go ahead and upload your assignment. Check for the email that you have received it, yes or no. What is the feedback that you have received from your trainer? Number three, check on which date the certificates will be released. Thank you. Bye. All the best. Happy learning.
Hello everyone. All right. So we are just getting started with our today's class. In today's class, what we are going to do is we are going to get started with our C++ data structures course. We are going to learn about new data structures, many different data structures we are going to cover in this session. I mean, in this entire course, using the language C++. In case you are new to C++ language, that is totally fine because we are going to get started from the very scratch and it's going to be a beginner friendly course all the way up till advanced. Okay, so I'm not going to waste any more time and let me just share my screen to you and show you what exactly you're going to learn in this course. All right. So because we are going to learn about data structures using C++, there is a couple of expectations that I have from you. I simply want for you to keep up with me and keep on writing down notes, whatever I'm going to show you on the screen. It is very important that you write down your notes from your own hands, from your own notes. Do not worry about the notes that I'm going to create because I am going to share all of these notes to you and you can access it very easily. Okay, but still, on the other hand, I do have an expectation that you will keep on writing down the notes from your own hands as well. That will help you learn and keep it in your mind all the way ready. Okay, okay. So before going to the topic data structures, let me just simply give you a small introduction that what exactly C++ is. Well, uh, data structure is one topic, but if you want to learn this topic, you need to have a medium. You need to have a language in which you can learn data structures. In this course, we're going to choose C++ as the language which you're going to use. Now, there are many uses and there are many advantages of using language C++. First of all, it is one of the most famous language along with C++, Java and Python. These three are one of the three of the most famous languages that lots of people use. Majorly, I personally prefer C++ and Java, any of it, uh, while you are learning data structures. Okay, and why is that? Let me just keep on writing down things as well so that it will be good to go. First of all, C++ is C++ is one of the most powerful language that you can use while doing any kind of things, while learning data structures, or maybe while doing development, or doing anything, while building different type of applications. So as I'm saying, C++ is very powerful language. uh, Doing what exactly? When we are building, any kind of applications, web pages, even games, and also an entire operating system as well. Which of the things you are trying to build, whatever you are trying to learn, C++ is going to be very helpful and powerful tool which you can use it for. What are some advantages that we have of C++? That is, we can say it is its key characteristics. Its key characteristics are going to be something like that it is very fast and efficient. First of all, obviously, that is why it is very famous. C++ actually supports object oriented programming. In case you don't know what exactly object oriented programming is, don't worry about it. It's an entirely separate topic, but it's a very important one as well. In short, we can call it OOPS. That is what its abbreviation is. You call it OOPS, it simply means object oriented programming. Okay. Apart from that, it is very widely used in competitive programming as well. Well, why is that actually? Because of the first point. It is very fast. It is very close to your operating system actually, and the calls that it makes it even faster, right? Faster request and faster response it gets from the operating system. That's why it's actually very fast while we are compiling it, running it, etc. Okay. So without wasting much time on the theory, let me just show you the uh, screen here. That is that how exactly a program of C++ looks like. So here in this course, whenever we are going to try to write down any code, what we are going to do is we are going to use any online compiler you can use, or I am going to use this one, Code Playground. You can use anyone. You can use your own uh, application as well, any application like Visual Studio Code and etc. This is one of the most famous one. So in C++, this is what a basic structure would look like. But let's just write it down from the very beginning. Na? Why exactly we rely on anything? Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to get started by hash include IOStream. This is the very first line, which actually means is it is going to include the library which we need in our program. IO stream is actually short for input output stream. It's actually a library where lots and lots of inbuilt functions are already stored. Okay, and it actually helps us do the things faster. You will get to know what exactly it is. Let's just move on for now using namespace std int main. This is this is where our program will always and always get started. It will always get started from int main only. In most of the programming languages, almost all of the programming languages, whatever code you write, it will always get started from main function. It's actually a keyword which you cannot use uh, apart from this for this functionality. That means you cannot name a variable as main. That is not allowed to you because it is a keyword. Okay, so let's say cout. We say hello world. This is going to be our very first program in any of the languages. So this is what your first program would look like. First ever program would look like. That is, you simply use a library to be included, which will help you give lots of inbuilt functions. Then you use using namespace std. This has its own speciality as well, but main thing is right here, that is int main, where your program will always get started. And then you have cout. Cout is simply short for console output, which is simply used to output something out. In this case we are going to output this exact thing, hello world. And then at the end you have return 0. Well, it is actually a return type. I'm going to write these things as well, don't worry, but I'm just telling you verbally right now that it means return 0 means it is a return type. That means at the end of the program you have to return something to the console. It is compulsory when you're using int main. As you can see, when I ran the program, it is simply printing hello world. As straightforward as that. Let me just bring this code to our notes. Let me just create some very clear notes which will later help you. Like this. And then we have output as well. I'll just show the output as well just below the code. Like this. Now let me just write down a couple of short notes on side of it explaining each and everything what exactly I have written just now. First of all, we have hash include iostream. It includes the input and output functionality. Next thing we have is using namespace std. It allows us to use cout and cin without std colon colon. In case you decided not to use using namespace std, then in that case what you have to do is, whenever you are writing down cout, you always have to say std colon colon and then cout. Then you have to do stuff. And same goes for cin as well. We do not want to do that each and every time. That's why we are using it at the very top, and then you don't need to use std colon colon at all anywhere in your program. Next thing is int main. This is the entry point. As I just explained, this is the entry point of your program. Whichever program you write down, it always starts from int main only. What is the next thing we did? We have used cout. It is used to output something on your screen. And same goes for cin as well. For cin, you have to write down these signs, and for cout, you have to use these signs. It is used to input something. Okay. One last thing that we have in this program is return 0. It ends, you can say ends or destroy. Destroy the program successfully. One thing is returning stones, that whatever is going to get started, it always going to get ends. So that's why if you're starting something from int main, it will always have to get ended by return. Return statement is simply used to end a program, or you can also say destroy a program. That is, once its execution is completed, its task is completed, you have to destroy it entirely so that it will not take any random memory allocations at all in your main memory. Why don't I just do one thing? Why don't I just show you how exactly you use cin, because you have got to know how to use cout. Let's just also include cin as well. So let's just write down the program for it. So let's just modify this program itself, and in the int main, what I have to do is, if I want to input something, I would have to declare a variable first of all. Let's just say I'm going to ask for my name itself. So let's say I'm going to say declare a string with name as name. I can call it name, or you can say anything else. Student. You can call it anything else as well. Any name you can use, just do not use any keyword. Okay. So I have declared a string student here. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to ask for the name of the student. Let me just do one thing. I will say cout, and I will print input the name of student, like this. And every string, every line, every statement has to be ended using semicolon. Only then it will be considered as ended. So I have cout this particular string. Then I said that is cin these cin signs, and then I will simply say student. I will use the exact same variable, this same variable. Okay. Then I will at the end, I will cout, instead of hello world, I will say name of student is student. Okay. What it will do is it will simply print this line, and after that whatever is the value stored inside the variable student. Let me just Try to run it once. Okay, I haven't inputted anything. Let me just clear this thing out. Here I will input name of the student as, let's suppose, Kunal Suri. Then if I run it, let's just use this much only. If I run it right now, what will happen is, first thing will it will input the string, and then it will output this particular part. If I run it right now, it is saying name of the student is Kunal. So here I have inputted the string, and exactly same thing is getting inputted in the variable student, and then it is getting printed, as straightforward as that. Let me just include this part in our notes. And I will simply mention here how to use C in and C out. One note I would like to mention here is, if you are running a C program not in an online console but in your actual application, let's suppose in VS Code or any other visual, in any other editor, core editor, you have to perform a couple of steps. What you have to do is, whichever file you have stored it, you have to rename that file by extension .cpp. That means, first step would be, save your file with any name. Let's suppose I'm going to say hello. Name of the file would be hello. So I will say hello.cpp. Okay, you have stored it using the same extension of cpp, and then what you will do is, you will compile it. How do you compile a file, C++ file? You running by running this command g++ and then name of the file with some space, hello.cpp space minus small o, and then name of the file again without the extension, like this. Using this command, you will be able to compile a file, and then at the end you have to run the file. Two steps are there always. One is compiling, other one would be running. How do you run it? What is the command to run it? By simply saying dot slash and then name of the file, hello, as straightforward as that. By that, you will be able to find your output when you're using it in your application. So I think that would be it for the first part of the class. What we will do is, we will now let's just get started from the actual data structures. You will get a basic introduction of C++. Now what we will do is, we will simply get started with some actual data structures. The very first data structure that anyone would always learn will always be the most famous one. Name of the most famous data structure is arrays. You might have heard about it. It's one of the most famous data structure and one of the most widely used as well. Now, how actually array looks like? First of all, let me just tell you that. General structure of array would look something like this. It actually looks like a train. That means, this is the actual structure of an array. That means, some memory allocation, to be specific, some continuous memory allocation in your main memory. Let me just write that down, because that is one very important step. Arrays stored in continuous memory allocation. One another important point here would be arrays always have indexing. Those who do not know about indexing, in a straightforward line, I can just tell you that indexing is invisible imaginary numbers. Those are some imaginary numbers, always and always starting from 0. That means, let's suppose this is an array. If we have this kind of array, what happens is its indexings always start from 0. That means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Size of your array is 7 here, but because your indexing always starts from 0, it will end by size less than 1 less than the size. Now inside it you can store any data that you want, but similar type of data only. Let's suppose if I want to create an array of integer type, how that would look like. How do you declare an integer array? That would look like this. That means int, that is your variable name. It's not variable name, it's data type. Int is your data type, and then you have your variable name. Let's just say ARR. I want to choose to call it ARR. And with the square bracket, inside the square bracket you have to mention the size of your array. Let's just say 5 only. I want to create an array of 5 size. What I will do is, in front of it, using an assignment operator, that means equal to, I can simply include its values as well. In curly braces, I can write down any 5 numbers. Let's just say 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. And as like always, end the statement with semicolon. This is what your integer array would look like of 5 size. In memory allocation, its structure would something be like this. I can simply copy this part right here. But its size is not correct, so let me just delete this last one. This is an array of integer type, name as ARR, and its values inside it would be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. This is also not right, so yeah, now it is of correct size. Its size is equal to 5. We have an array of size 5 where we are storing some random numbers. One small note you can just write it down here is, in next page I can write down, let's suppose if you have defined an array and you haven't filled any values inside it up till now. Let's just assume that. In that case, I don't think it will always remain empty. There will always and always be a default value. But that default value would be default value in an array is garbage value. That means some random values will always be filled inside it. Normally it will be very very huge numbers, or something very very small, like negative 10, negative 1 million, or positive 1 million, something like that. And you cannot define those values. You do not know what those values are, and that is only and only for C++. Exact same thing if you wanted to know for Java, that would be 0. That will always be 0. Default value in Java arrays will always be 0, and default values in C++ arrays will always be a garbage random value. Okay, just keep it as a note. Now let's suppose you have got how to access, you have got how to create an array. Obviously you cannot just create an array and forget it. You always wanted to use it for something. If you wanted to use it for something, you need to access different values, you need to remove some values, you need to update some values. Those kind of operations are always necessary. So let's just simply now talk about those operations. Let's just say, first talk about access a value in an array. Let me just take example of this already built array. And as you know, there is always going to be indexing. Because there is indexing, now we have different values and at different indexes of an array. So what I will do is, let's suppose if I wanted to access a value, let's suppose 30. I wanted to access the value 30. You are already aware that 30 is present at index number 2. So what I will do is, how do I access it? I will simply say, let's just declare a variable. I'm going to call it, let's suppose, A. How do I access it? By using the name of the array. Using the name of the array. Also, inside the square bracket, I am going to mention the index of it. Let's suppose I want to access 30. So I will simply say 2, and it will simply provide me the value 30. It is simply saying access whatever value we have in an array at index 2. So that is the straightforward command we have. Close it with 30 and you know that it will be storing value 30. As simple as that. And similarly, you are able to access the value. How do you update a value in an array? Exact same things. Let's suppose you want to update this 40 to 70. Let's just say I wanted to do that. What I will do is, I will simply first of all access the value at index 3, because that's where I want to update a value. What I will do is, I will access by saying array square bracket 3, and with equal to operator, equal to sign, I will simply assign a value 30 in it. What will it will do now is, it will simply update the value at index 3 by 70. As simple as that. One last thing, that is, how do you print a value at an index, or you can say output or print, anything you can say. Print a value from an array. Let's suppose I wanted to print this value at 3, at index 3. What I will do is, I will simply say cout, as you already aware about, arr square bracket 3. Right now what will happen is, it will simply print the value 70, not 40, but actually it prints the value 70, because it has already been updated a line before. यहाँ पे here we have already updated the value from 40 to 70. That's why when now we are trying to print the value at index 3, it will give us 70. So those are actually some basic operations of our array data structures. If you want to manipulate something, if you want to manage something, manage some data, that you can do using your array data structure using these operations. Let me just make these notes a bit more clear. If you have now got to know about the array, why don't we use a real example, real life example? Let's suppose a very basic one. A simple question would be, uh, write a program where we want to store marks of 5 students. Let's suppose there is a class, and in it we have 5 number of students, and we want to store the marks of test of those 5 students. What we can simply do is we can straightforwardly write a program and store the marks of those students. It would simply be look like this, that is our students and their marks. Using a table, I'm just going to show you that this is how our actual data looks like. Let's suppose this is what we have. We have our student 1, student 2, student 3, student 4 and student 5 and their respective marks. Let's suppose out of 100 we have 97, we have 47, we have 50, we have 89 and we have 70. These are the marks of some students. You are getting this data, and when you create an array, its actual structure will look something like this. First student having marks 97, second student having marks 47, then 50, then 89, and then 70. Because it's an array, it will always and always will be having indexing from 0 to 4, because the size of this array is 5. Let's just also name this array as anything. Let's just call it marks. You can name your array anything as you like. Now you can definitely use this array to manipulate the data. Let's suppose you want to check that which student have the highest number of marks. You can simply traverse in an array and check, that is, which index is having the highest marks, and that student will be rewarded as the first in the first position, then the second, then the third, then the fourth and fifth. As straightforward as that. If you have more number of students, you can change the size of your array, and then you can use it like that. Similar to that, right now what we did is we have used arrays as an example. Exactly same kind of operations we can also perform in a string. Let's just talk a little bit about strings as well. That is another major topic that we have. One thing that I want to make very clear here is that is arrays and strings. As I'm saying again and again, these are one of the most major topics. Why is that? Because there are many data structures, uh, and almost all of those, apart from arrays and strings, have very limited number of variations. Let me talk about any of the random data structure. Let's just say dynamic programming. That is one topic of data structure. That is one of the most advanced topic of data structure. That topic is having very limited number of variations of questions, maximum 15 to 20, 15 to 20 variations there are. If you perform 15 to 20 number of questions of different variations, that topic will be entirely finished and completed, and you will never need to learn anything new in that. But in strings and array, there are there can be have unlimited number of questions. It's a these two topics are kind of those topics where you can get the easiest topic, easiest question as well, and the hardest question as well of your life. That is why most of the people practice a lot in arrays and strings. So so let's just focus on that part. What exactly is a string? String is another data type which stores a sentence kind of structure. It's actually not a sentence, that is not the right way to say it, but you can say it's a collection of characters. That is the most precise definition you have of strings. Strings is simply collection of characters. And how it exactly looks like, let's see. So let's just get started in strings by performing that. How do we input, how do we declare input and output a string? Okay, so let's just get here now. We have used hash include. Apart from it, let's just use hash include. Apart from iostream, let's just use string as well. Here, now what we'll do is we will create a string. Let me just zoom in a little bit, it will be much easier for you. I am going to declare a string here with keyword string, and I'm going to name this variable as, let's suppose, str. That is one of the most commonly used variable that we use while we are declaring a string. So right now what I did here is, here I have created an empty string. Now one string is created, string variable is created, but it has no value as of now. What we will do is we will insert some value inside it. So let's just not keep it empty, and here I am simply going to say I will say, let's suppose, hello. Hello I have written here. Now what happened is, this string has a value hello, this string. And always make sure, one thing to always remember, whenever you are declaring a string, it will always and always be surrounded with double inverted colons, double inverted commas. Okay, when you are declaring a character, it will always be surrounded by single inverted commas. When you are creating a string, it will always be surrounded by double inverted commas. Okay, as straightforward as that. Now let's just print this string, cout str. As you can see, it is working as expected only. Let me just keep this code in our notes. Now you have just saw one way of declaring a string, but there are a couple of another ways as well how you can declare a string. Let me just write down those as well. One way is the first one, by write down the keyword string and then simply name of your variable. This will be considered as an empty string, which I have just explained it to you. Let me just write it down. It is an empty string. Another way is, which you also aware about, string. Let's just say str. If I'm saying it, this time it is not going to be empty and it will be containing some value. Let's suppose hello only, which I have just shown you. Apart from this, we have another third way of declaring a string, which looks like this. String and name of the string. Let's just say str only I'm using. Inside the parentheses, yeah, brackets are named as parentheses here. And here inside the parentheses, you can write down anything. Let's just say world. This is one another way of declaring a string in C++. Now, apart from this, another most important point here would be, let me just write down an example here. If I have declared a string str at any value here, let's just say I'm going to use the exact same value, hello world. Hello, and with some space I'm going to use world. Just like arrays, strings are also having property of indexing. And no matter what, whenever we are talking about indexing, it will always and always going to get started from 0 only. So that means if we are talking about this particular string, then this particular string will also be having indexing always starting from 0. So that means capital H here is at index 0. It's an imaginary number, so it will not be actually physically present, but you have to imagine it. Capital H will be present at index 0, small e will be present at index 1, small l at index 2, another small l at index 3, o, small o at index 4, and then there is space. No matter what, if something is inside double inverted commas, that means if something is a string, it will all be considered as a character. Even the space is at index 5. So it is not nothing, but it is, we are going to consider it as something which is placed at index 5. Moving on, capital W at index 6, small o at index 7, small r at index 8, small l at index 9, and small d at index 10. Just as I have told you before, if I'm going to ask about the size of this string, what is the size of this string? What do you think? You might have answered correct, you might have answered wrong. Its actual size is 11, not 10. Those who are thinking it's 10, it is not. As I have just explained you before, indexing always starts from 0. That is why its last index will always be 1 less than its actual size. That means in this case, the size of your string is 11 and indexing starts from 0 all the way up till 10. Also going in the same way, just like you have declared an array and then manipulated it by accessing it, updating it, or removing something from the part, same things you can do with the string as well. Even some extra things also you can do here. Let me explain those inbuilt functions to you right now. In the inbuilt function, let's suppose if we are talking about accessing something at a particular index, we can simply take this example itself. Let's just keep this example in the next page. Access a character in a string. There is not going to be much thought we are going to put it into. It is straightforward going to be like this. If you want to access, let's suppose this capital W, if you wanted to access, you already know that it is at the particular index 6. You can simply say in an exact same way as the array, you can simply use str square bracket whatever the index it's going to be on, that is 6. That is how you can simply access a particular character. And if you do not want to just keep it like this, you can simply store it in some character variable as well. Let's suppose character C, you can store it as like this. If you can put any kind of value, any kind of number here, then wouldn't it make sense to put some out of range values? Let's suppose if what will happen if you try to put some negative numbers here, any negative number. Let's suppose I say something like this. If I say str square bracket -1, what will happen in that case? Let's suppose what will happen if I say str square bracket last index as I can see is 10. Let's just say I am going to put 12 or 13 or 11, something like that. In that case, obviously you're going to get an exception, you're going to get an error. But what exactly is the name of that exception? That is one important point. That is, name of that exception would be string index out of bound exception. That will be the name of your exception. Exact same thing if you're going to try with an array, it is also going to provide similar kind of exception. Only name of that exception would be array index out of bound. Array index out of bound, as straightforward as that. Now, apart from accessing something, accessing some character in a string, you can do much more than that as well. That is one of my very interesting and most famous functionality of a string would be concatenation. That is very, very famous. What exactly is concatenation? Well, this is one property of string which is different from array. That means in string, what you can do is you can define two separate strings. First of all, let's just say str1, I'm saying, is equal to having value hello, semicolon, close. Let's just say you have defined another string str2, and there you have defined world, semicolon, close. What you can do is you can create a third string. Let's just call that one as str, and in that one I am not going to put some value. Instead, I'm going to say use str1 plus. In string, when you use a plus sign, that is the sign of concatenation. str1 plus str2. Can anyone guess that what is going to be the output for this particular string str? Well, output for this string would be hello world. Here you are combining two strings into one, and this is not limited to only two strings. You can add as many strings as you want. Instead of add in strings, you can say concatenate as many strings as you want. One thing you might have noticed is in between hello and world there is no space present, because I have not mentioned any space either here or here. That is the reason. we are going to add exact same characters which are expected from us. If you want some space in between hello and world, what you can do is you can just have some space before w or maybe after o. If you do that, then there is another character in between which will be having space. Right now, if I ask what is the size of this string would be, then what will you say? Previously, size of this string was 11. This time it was not 11. This time, size of a string is going to be 10, because now space in between one character is gone. That space character is gone. That means your indexing will be gone from where to where? It will be gone from 0 all the way to not 10 but 9. Okay, keep that in mind. Apart from that, there are many other inbuilt functions which strings actually holds. Let me show you a couple of them. Then I will, at the end, I will give you a list of all the inbuilt functions as well. Let's suppose if we are talking about insert, you have this string str hello and world. There is no space in between. Let's suppose I want some space in between hello and world. How do I insert that one character in between? First of all, you need to be aware about what is the indexing actually. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. Just I have explained in the last page. What you can do here is you can use uh, str dot insert method. Str dot insert in the parenthesis, that means inside the brackets you can use two parameters. That is, one is going to be index. Let's suppose I want some character at index 5 comma, and what character do I want? I want a space. Now what will happen if you try to print str, your output will be hello space world. As simple as that. Now if we are able to insert some character inside a string, how do we remove that? How do we remove a character? Let's suppose we are using this exact same example. This same example right here. This time, instead of adding space in between, I want to remove O and W both. What I will do is, I will use an inbuilt function which will work like this: str.erase. The keyword is erase. You can simply say it also accepts two parameters. First parameter will be from where exactly do I start erasing the characters. I will say at index 4. And how many characters do you want to remove? I want to erase two characters. Now if you try to print, now if you try to output str, what will happen is it will provide the output like this. Any guesses? HELL ORLD, like this. This will be your output now. Apart from this, there is one other very interesting one. Let's suppose if you want to find something inside a string, how do you do that? Well, let me just use the exact same example. If I use the inbuilt function str.find, and this is going to accept a string, what exactly you are looking for? Which string are you looking for? Let's suppose I am looking for WORLD. This string I am looking for inside this string. what this one will return is, what this function will return is, this function will return the index of your string, first index of your string. So as I can see, this world is present here and it is starting from index 5. So here in this case our output will be simply 5. It will simply return a number. One last and the most important inbuilt function I'm going to let you know about is substring. First of all, what exactly is a substring? A substring is actually a sub part of a string. That means a smaller part of a string. Let's suppose you want to obtain a smaller part of a string. I'm going to use the same example. Let's suppose my goal is to obtain, let's suppose I want to obtain this much part. LLOWO. Let's suppose this much part I want to obtain. What I will do is I will use the inbuilt function substring. How do I do that? str dot substr, that is short for substring. Inside the parameter you will again provide two parameters. First one would be starting index of your substring. I want the starting index to be this one, which is 2. And second parameter would be how many characters do you want to obtain. That means what is going to be length of your substring. I want LLOWO, that means 1 2 3 4 5. So I want 5 characters starting from index 2. This particular inbuilt function will provide you the substring LLO capital W. This will be your output. This is one very important inbuilt function in a string. So I guess I will say ki yeah, this is some inbuilt functions, some basic overview of string. What we'll do now is afterwards, in the next session we will practice one very important string related question. We will include definitely array in it as well. Maybe that will give us a better practice.